Hi all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Ollie, this is Simply Stitchy, and in today's video you may remember this old girl from my how to clean a vintage sewing machine video. In the last video we got as far as taking the surface dust off and giving her a really good oiling on the inside. The first thing that I need to cover in this video though is when I was editing the previous video I realised that a whole chunk that I'd filmed was actually completely missing. It had vanished in between filming it and editing. Piff! It was gone. The area that I'm talking about that completely disappeared was when I was working on the bobbin area, and I remember filming it because I was explaining how it doesn't seem to matter what screwdriver I've got. If I'm working on vintage antique machines or even modern machines, I've either got one that's too long to go underneath the arm of the sewing machine, which isn't a problem on this one because this one's quite tall, or I'll have one that the blade is either too fat or too thin to be able to undo the screws. Once you've got a screwdriver that'll fit, all you really need to do is take the 3 inspection hatches off. This one, every time I look at this I keep thinking that's a cat. Then the one over the feed dogs, just slide that one out, and this one is particularly cute. There's a little hole that says oil here, which is adorable, and what happens is when that's in situ you pop a drop of oil in the little hole where it says, and it slides down this slight slope and into that bigger hole there to oil around the back of the bobbin housing. And while we're looking at the bobbin, if I just lift it up a little bit and try and keep my hands out of the way, if we watch the bobbin for a second, there you go, you see how the actual housing goes around the bobbin race. If I just pop the bobbin back in for a second, you'll be able to see that a bit clearer. The bobbin doesn't move and it's just the outside housing that goes around. This is what's known as a rotary bobbin system. And rotary bobbins are more common in industrial machines. The difference between that and the bobbin system on a Singer 15, for instance, is on the 15 it's an oscillating system. It's a bit like a washing machine. It goes one way and then back on itself. But it's no surprise to find that Wheeler and Wilson have rotary bobbin systems in their machines, because although they made domestic machines, they were actually more interested in breaking into the industrial market. To clean this area, what you really need is some of these things. This is a cotton bud or a Q-tip. Now I've already cleaned this area, and this is the dirt that I managed to get out of the bobbin housing and the bobbin race, and it's basically in the same way as you did with the rest of the machine. Just gently move the dust out and away from the machine. What we're going to be doing in today's video is finding out if this machine will work. Now before I get any fabric anywhere near it, what I'm going to need to do is change the needle. Now Wheeler and Wilson D9s don't take standard class 15 needles. They take what's known as a 127 by 1 needle, which is a size that's a little bit difficult to get hold of these days. There is a place online called jacksneedles.com who actually supply needles that you can use in a Wheeler and Wilson D9. This is them. The brand is Gross Beckett, you can see that, and those are the classifications of needle that you're looking for if you're looking to get a needle for a Wheeler and Wilson D9. I'll put a link to his website in the description box below for you, and he's also got a page on eBay as well, so I'll pop a link for that down there too. To change the needle on the Wheeler and Wilson, it's a simple case of undoing the screw on the top of the needle bar. Oops. and then just pulling the needle out. And there's the old needle. Now it looks very similar to most modern day needles in that it's got a rounded side and a flat side. But if I grab a class 15 needle for a moment, look at the difference in size. There you go. The smaller one is the 15. And this is the substitute needle. It's not exactly the same. As I say, the 127 by 1s are hard to come by. This doesn't have a flat side. This is round all the way around the needle. The one thing that you need to be careful of with these substitute needles is because it's round on all sides, it's very difficult to tell which is the proper side of the needle, and this machine threads from right to left, so you need to make sure that the eye of the needle is on the right rather than front to back like it is on modern machines. So we're just going to pop that into the needle bar, push it up as far as it will go, and then just tighten up your needle clamp screw until that needle won't move. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the hand wheel slowly to make sure that that needle doesn't hit the bobbin housing. Turn it just a bit quicker. We're good. The next thing that we need to do before we can actually get the Wheeler & Wilson to sew is obviously to thread it top and bottom. Now this is the bobbin that came with it. It's an original bobbin and it has some old thread on it. Now normally, in normal circumstances, I'd say to you, take the thread off the bobbin and replace it with fresh new thread. But I have a little bit of a technical hitch, so I'm not actually able to do that at the moment. If we take a closer look at the hand wheel, there's a groove going right the way around it. If we have a look at the bobbin winding mechanism, which is just a little bit below it here, there's a similar groove on here too, which means there should be a belt connecting this wheel to that one, so that when you turn this wheel, that one will spin. Unfortunately, I don't have an external bobbin winder. I know you can pick things like that up from places like Walmart or other big box stores, but I haven't got one. So what I'm going to have to do is I am going to have to use the thread that's already on the bobbin and hope for the best. Obviously, if you're renovating or rejuvenating an older machine, where possible, change that thread out for some fresh. If I was going to be winding a bobbin on this particular machine, this is what the steps that you'd go through to do that. First of all, you put the cotton reel on the machine, and what I'm doing is I'm just looking for that groove that all straight wound spools have got. That's so that when you're finished using your thread, you can put it in the groove and it stops it unwinding. But unfortunately, if you get that in your thread path on the sewing machine, it also stops the sewing machine being able to pull the thread off the reel. So what you want to make sure is that that stays out of the thread path. Now on here, it's got a pretty nifty little thread stand in that it actually lifts up and you put it through the cotton reel like that. The next thing you want to do is wrap it once around that screw that caused me so much trouble in the last video, and then on the bobbin there's a little hole and you put the thread through that little hole. To engage the bobbin, you push it up and then it sits on the belt that should be from one wheel to the other. As with most of these older machines, It has a disengaging wheel which you just turn so that you can stop the needle going up and down and just use all the energy to wind your bobbin. To insert the bobbin, what you need to do is hold it in your left hand with the thread coming off to the top. Slide it over that little pin, or latch I think it's called in the instruction books. Oops. Make sure it's sitting neatly in the housing, and then just close that pin. And there's a little groove just in top of it that you need to pull the thread up into. To thread the upper part of the machine, what we need to do is come across to this thread guide here and just pop the thread behind it, come around the tension discs, down to this front pulley, bring the thread back up to the take up lever and just slide it into that little groove. Oops. Then bring it down to this guide on the front. Just check the tension for a moment. Yeah, it's fine. And there's a little groove just at the top of the needle bar that the thread needs to go in as well. And then it's just a simple case of threading the needle. This machine goes from right to left, so you need to make sure that when you put the needle back in, you have the eye facing right. Now let's bring the bobbin thread up. If you find that your machine isn't bringing the bobbin thread up, it's probably because it's not sitting properly in that little groove that's just on top of the bobbin housing, or it might be because you haven't quite got your needle facing right to left. So I'm just going to fiddle with that until I've got it facing the right way. That's one of the disadvantages with having a substitute needle, in that not having that flat back makes it harder to know you've got the needle in the right way around. Oh, oh, there you go. That's the bobbin thread up. So yeah, you just have to keep fiddling with it until you've got the needle in the right place. Okay, now for the moment of truth. Let's see if she'll sew. Now the one thing that I'm going to have to try and remember as I'm doing this is, unlike all my other machines, it isn't hand wheel towards you, it's hand wheel away. Let's see. It's a little bit tricky because there's no hand crank and there's no treadle, but look at that. Let's take a look at how she did. There's the front, it's this row here. Actually, it doesn't look too bad, but if we take a look at the back, there's a little bit of nesting going on, which suggests that there's a little bit of trouble with the tension on the top, so I'm going to have to keep playing with that until I get that right. That's one of the ways that you can tell where your tension issues lie. If when you're testing it you have a different colour bobbin thread to your top threads, you can tell at a glance which thread is playing up. But another way of telling as well is, if it's looking rough on the top, it's your bobbin that's the problem. If it's rough on the bottom or the underneath, it's the top tension that needs adjusting. Attempt number 2, and that's what the back's looking like now. I've tightened the tension to get rid of some of the slack that we were suffering from, and that's already looking so much better. Okay, attempt number 5, I think it was. Is the right side, and there's the wrong side, and as you can see it's got so much better underneath now. Part of that was tension and part of that was user error, as it is in so many cases when machines don't work properly. I hadn't realised that I'd missed a thread guide because I hadn't seen just under this guide here there's a piece of wire sticking out that the thread's supposed to go behind, so I've popped it behind that, re-threaded it all the way down, and now it's working perfectly. Overall I'm pretty happy with that. A couple of tweaks with the tension and I think she'll be sewing like a dream. I hope you liked today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and why not check out some of the other videos on my channel by using these links coming up any minute now, or the ones that I'll pop in the description box below for you. Whichever video you go and check out next, hope to see you back here for the next one. In the meantime, whatever you're sewing it with, embrace your creativity and have fun. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.